Tomlin. It just seems like no matter who we have at quarterback nowadays, I mean, for real, guys, the Steelers could have like 2007 Tom Brady out there, 2011 Aaron Rodgers, 1989 Joe Montana, 1984 Dan Marino. We could even have prime Big Ben all over again out there under center. And I'm still convinced that Mike Tomlin would only start those guys if Kenny Pickett is unable to play. What is going on, everybody? I am Mac, back with another video Friday morning, as this is my Week 17 preview between the Steelers and the Seahawks this Sunday afternoon in Seattle. Do me a favor, like, comment, subscribe, follow on Instagram. Link is in the box below. I first and foremost, I will not be streaming this game Sunday, as the New Year's Eve party is back on for me, so I will not be streaming this game Sunday. But I will be collabing with my buddy Sam Dog, the infamous, and his buddy Dallas on Saturday night, 10 o'clock Eastern Time, 7 o'clock Pacific Time. So tune in for that. That's something I'm looking forward to. But let's get on into this matchup here. Both teams coming in this one at 8-7, I believe. But yeah, man. I mean, despite Mason Rudolph balling out against the Cincinnati Bengals and putting up our best offensive performance that we've had, in my opinion, in over 3 years, Mike Tomlin still comes out and says that Mason is only starting if Kenny Pickett can't play once again. I just don't get it. Like, I have so many questions about that. Like, first and foremost, why would you even consider starting Kenny Pickett in this game now that you saw what Mason Rudolph can potentially bring to the table should he be the starter long term? And I know Cincinnati's defense stinks. I know the Bengals have been very underwhelming on defense this year. But the guy was taking shots down the field and he was connecting on deep passes. Have you seen Kenny Pickett do that all season? Have you seen Mitch Trubisky do that all season? Hell, have you seen them do that throughout the course of their entire careers? No, you haven't. So given that information, why would you even throw in that possibility? And secondly, you also know that Kenny Pickett has not been cleared by doctors, and he's not even 100%. I'd say he's like 70 to 80%. So once again, being neglectful, being so disregarding of his health and his well-being that you're willing to risk him you're willing to risk putting him out there, knowing his injury history, knowing that he's not well, just because you want to win 9 games. You see, this is the parallel between the coaching matchup that we have here between Pete Carroll and Mike Tomlin. Why? Because you take a look at the Seattle Seahawks. Pete Carroll has always been a tough-as-nails head coach for him. And with the West Coast offense that the Seahawks are having under Shane Walden, I mean, sure, the offense hasn't been elite. The offense hasn't been outstanding. But the Seahawks definitely do have an offense that can be productive. I'd say the only thing that they're really good at offensively is that they can put points up on the board. But really, other than that, they don't really thrive in anything offensively. But you know what? Shane Walden calls the plays necessary, and he gets the most out of his players necessary for Seattle to be as successful as they can. You don't see Pete Carroll rushing Geno Smith when he's not at 100% just because he wants a certain amount of wins on the season. Like when he had to start Drew Lock a couple weeks ago against Philly on that Monday night game, he didn't shy away from starting Drew Lock. Now you're in a situation where you know what you have in Trubisky. That guy don't even belong in the NFL. And you know that your supposed starter is not at 100%. So why are you even considering benching your hottest hand that dominated last week, that put up your best offensive performance in years, just because Kenny Pickett went to Pitt and he's your first round draft pick? Why are you shying away from that? And you see, this is why I put out that video yesterday about my replacements for Mike Tomlin. It's because of crap like this right here. But then again, I'm not entirely surprised by it, because this is exactly something that Tomlin would do. Exactly. He's best friends with everybody. He doesn't come off as a strict head coach. He doesn't come off as a coach that thrives to win. He thrives to coast. And that's why I put that video out yesterday. Okay? Yeah, I know. We're coming off a blowout win against the Bengals. But it doesn't change my mind about Tomlin. Not one bit. Because he hasn't learned anything from that. If he did learn anything from that, he would make Mason Rudolph the starter the rest of the season. He would shut down Kenny Pickett for the rest of the season, let him get healthy, and just call it a second season for him. Okay? But no. Only if Pickett can't play. So that's why I'm not feeling too confident about this game, actually. Because like I mentioned, Seattle's offense is good but not elite. But you take a look at a guy like Geno Smith. He's been a real good feel good story for the Seahawks. I mean, well, kind of like the offense. It's kind of fitting. Is Geno Smith elite? No. Is Geno Smith, one of the greatest quarterbacks to ever play? Absolutely not. But you know what? I think he meshes well with this offense that the Seahawks have. He's got a really good arm. He's got good pocket presence. He thrives with the deep ball like Mason Rudolph does. But I think the things that hold him back from being a truly great starter in this league is that he doesn't really have the best decision making, and I really don't think he has the best maneuverability in the pocket. So you guys already know where I'm going with here. I mean, it's the same song and dance every week as far as going up against the quarterbacks goes. It seems like every week. You got to get the pressure on him, and I think it's a favorable matchup, in my opinion, right here, because you're potentially looking at TJ Watt going against Abraham Lucas, which is a really big mismatch right there. But you take a look at us. We got some injuries to be concerned about as well, and so does Seattle. I'm not going to sit down here and give the whole injury report, but these are some key ones right here. Landon Roberts is still out for this game. Minka is now questionable, and Trenton Thompson is now questionable as well. So you're looking at a secondary potential of JPJ, Sullivan, Peterson, Eric Rowe, Levi Wallace. That's what you're looking at as far as the secondary goes, which JPJ, that guy better be on DK Metcalf the entire game. Like, I don't want anyone else covering DK except for JPJ. Literally. Okay? Because like I keep stressing the issue with, JPJ, despite being a rookie, has been as locked down as you can get. He has been locking down some of the elite receivers in this game when he's had to go up against them. Earlier in the year, it's Devontae Adams. Go up against him. Held him in check. It's Jamar Chase. Held him in check. Trying to think of some other guys that he's gone up against. Cooper Kupp, Puka Nacua. Held them in check. JPJ is already playing like an elite lockdown corner in his rookie season. And I know that he has problems with defensive holding. I know that he has rookie mistakes with penalties, but he'll brush up on those in time. The main thing about JPJ is that he is keeping these guys in check. And if he is not on DK Metcalf the entire game, then you are failing as far as the secondary goes. And speaking of the defense, okay, we know that Pete Carroll is a defensive-minded guy as well. But I think your focus on defense for this matchup is that obviously you can't let him have that big play, because Seattle's offense definitely is capable of coming up with that big play. But it comes down to situational football, okay? Because the one thing that I've noticed about Pete Carroll over the years as a head coach is that he's very methodical. You know, he always has to go by, it's kind of like he has a checklist for what he needs to do as far as his game plan goes, both offensively and defensively, because Seattle is a defensive unit. They run that typical Seattle cover 3, but you got to force them to play cover 4, cover 5, cover 6. You got to make them be methodical in this matchup here, because Seattle's defense, especially when they were on that losing streak that they had a couple weeks ago, they were giving up a lot of points. They allow an average of 23 points per game, and they especially do not do well as far as third down defense. They have the second worst third down defense in the league. And converting third downs, I think, is going to be key in this game for us. They're very above average when it comes to takeaways. They only have 19 takeaways on the season. So overall, you're looking at a very below average defense that the Seahawks have coming in this one. However, the pass rush has gotten better for them. They got 45 sacks on the year, and they do come out with a lot of blitz packages. So this is a Seahawks defense that is trying to become that physical brand, and they're trying to become what they were with the Legion of Boom back about a decade ago, but they're just not there yet. But like I said, they're very rules-based when it comes to their defense here. So that's why you got to make them be methodical here, you know, with playing that cover 4 and playing that cover 6 and attacking the coverages that they throw at you. And overall, you just got to take advantage of what they're going to potentially have out on the field as well. Because for as good as DK Metcalf is, he's been limited this week with practice as well. But then you got guys like Tyler Lockett, Jackson Smith-Njigba, who's been a really good rookie candidate this year for Seattle. Walker, he's been limited as well. Edwards, Jones, Jason Peters, who's still playing, and Devin Witherspoon. They've all been limited as well. So if none of those guys are, you know, available to go for the Seahawks, you're potentially looking at two of the biggest draft busts that the Steelers have ever had throughout the course of their franchise's history. Devin Bush and Artie Burns could potentially be starting in this game for the Seahawks. So that's something right there that you really have to take advantage of right here. Exploit their weaknesses, which is that they're very rules-based with that cover 4 and that cover 6 defense, and take advantage of that second worst third down defense that they have, okay? Get the other guys involved. For as great of a game that George Pickens had against Saturday, A, doesn't change my mind about the guy. He still needs to zip up his lip and realize that it's a team sport. And B, you got to get the others involved as well, okay? Use the tight end screens. Get guys like Deontay Johnson involved. Get guys like your running game involved in Jaylen Warren. Okay? You got to get the others involved in this one as well. Exploit their weaknesses with defense and exploit their weaknesses with Geno Smith and lock down their guys, okay? Now, let's be honest here, guys. This is the last winnable game that the Steelers are going to have this season, okay? Am I confident going in this matchup? Not really, for two reasons. Number one, history's against us this time because the last time the Steelers won in Seattle, you got to go back to 1983. 1983, that was the last time the Steelers beat the Seahawks in Seattle. So we do not have a really good track record of going up against the West Coast in the West Coast, especially Mike Tomlin, considering that this is another unofficial House of Horrors for us. So there's number one. Okay? And number two, it's just with the way Seattle's offense is and the way that we're very banged up as far as the defense goes, because I don't know the full story about the inside linebackers. I don't know the full story about the secondary, but it just seems like the Seahawks thrive on having a game plan being attacking other teams' defenses. And it's just that we just have not been a consistent team all season. Neither is Seattle. But I think one thing outweighs the other, and it's that the Seahawks have the home field advantage here. They're 5-2 at home, and we've been sus on the road. So I do think the Seahawks are beatable. I do think we can come away with the win, but I'm not truly confident with it. So we just got to do what won us last week against the Bengals. You got to go in there, do what you need to do. Keep your very slim playoff hopes alive, even though I do not think this is a playoff team. And just come away with the dub. Lots of history between these two right here, actually. The overall series between these two is actually tied 10 apiece. And they've played some iconic games over the years. Back in 2019 when Big Ben got injured against the Seahawks in week 2, Mason Rudolph had to come in, so he has a chance to make it come full circle here against the very team that he got his green light to go against. And now he could potentially keep our playoff hopes alive. 2015, we took a hard L to the Seahawks in Seattle where Marcus Wheaton went off against that Legion of Boom defense, over 200 receiving yards against them, despite losing a hard-fought game to them. How about 2021, where T.J. Watt saved the day on Sunday Night Football with the strip sack when Geno Smith had to start in that game for Russell Wilson, who was hurt. So again, for him, Geno Smith has a chance to make it come full circle just with the QB matchup alone. And of course, I think no Steeler fan cannot talk about the Seahawks without mentioning Super Bowl 40. Yeah, I know Ben was short at the goal line. Yeah, I know there were some sketchy calls in that game. But hey, Seattle still had plenty of chances to put that game away, and they just didn't execute. At the end of the day, the refs didn't make Antoine Randall L throw a gadget play touchdown pass to Hines Ward in the Super Bowl, didn't he? The refs didn't cause Seattle to punt the ball 5 times. Sure, Ben was short at the 1. In my opinion, I'm sitting down here saying Ben was short. But still, Seattle, you had chances to win that game. Okay? Plain and simple. But, yeah, man, I'm not sitting down here talking trash. I'm just saying that there is history between these two. And like I said, 1983 was the last time that the Steelers won in Seattle. The Seahawks were still in the AFC at the time. They've been in the NFC since 2002. But we need to go in there, do what needs to get done, and just take it from there. Get as much momentum as possible that you can possibly have going into Baltimore, despite, I don't think, having good feelings about that. But let me know what you think down in the comments below about this matchup. This is Mac checking on out for the day. Have a good one, everybody.